A lot of people had misconceptions towards estate planning. Now my video today is to share with you on the common myths of writing a will. Welcome to my channel, my name is Chanel Chong. I share on financial knowledge and insurance updates videos every single week. So if you're interested in these kind of topics, do stay tuned with me and subscribe to my channel so that you will get notified on all my future videos. Estate planning, especially will writing, has become one of the very important financial planning tools these days. Now let's take a look into the distribution process in Malaysia. First, when we are gone one day, upon death, all of our assets will be frozen automatically, regardless of whether we have a will or we don't own a will. So if a person dies without a will, the family member will apply for the letter of administration, whereas the person who dies with a will, executor will apply for the grant of probate for his estate. So the assets that are being frozen have a few purposes. First is to get income tax clearance. This is when IRB will come into investigation into the estate to check how much tax this deceased need to pay, and then to pay off the loans and debts and other liabilities that is being involved, and finally the balance will be paid to the beneficiaries of the deceased. The process of the estate with will will take around 1 to 2 years, which is rather fast, but the estate without will will take even longer, which is 3 to 7 years depending on the complexity, and it may be even longer if the family member has no idea how much and what wealth the family member left behind for them. Myth number 1. Will writing is only meant for the rich. Well, we may only own a very small estate or very little wealth, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to prepare our will beforehand. Preparing a will can make sure that our assets are being distributed to people that we prefer and not likely to fall into the hands of people that we dislike, like spendthrift beneficiaries. It can also make sure that the welfare of our family is being taken care of. Myth number 2. Will writing is seen as a taboo or pantang among the Malaysians. In fact, less than 30% of Malaysians had their will written, which means that there are 70% of us who don't own a will at all. We are either pantang or we refuse to talk about will writing because we are afraid that we are talking about something that we die, and it seems very negative and not so auspicious to us. We just refuse to talk about things that are negative, and it sounds like we are actually preparing something towards the end of our life. And some people, because they refuse to talk to their children have no idea at all how much wealth or what assets the parents own, which leads to a huge amount being stuck as unclaimed assets as of today. So writing a will somehow makes sure that all these problems are being avoided. Myth number 3. It is very costly and expensive to write a will. Now the truth is, it costs even more if a person dies without a will. The waiting time, the delay of distribution, and not knowing what our parents own, we tend to spend more money on legal fees just to find out and locate the assets that our parents possibly own. Okay, so getting a will written by a professional in Malaysia, in fact, is not as costly as expected. It may cost between a few hundred ringgit for a very simple wealth and a few thousand for a complex wealth. Number 4. I am too young for a will. Well, nobody likes to think about death, but it is very important for us to be prepared at any age because accidents can happen to anyone at any time. As mentioned earlier, an estate plan not only allows us to decide where our assets are heading to, it also allows us to appoint a guardian for our young children and to make sure that our elderly parents are being taken care of. So in other words, we can make sure that our concerns are being addressed when we are writing a will. Myth number 5. Do it yourself. It is very tempting for us to try to save money and try to do it ourselves using any online will services. But we have to bear in mind that writing a will is very different from writing an essay. It seems to be very complicated if we don't have any legal background, and we may somehow commit a very huge mistake which will affect our next of kin. So it is better for us to appoint someone professionally. Don't try to save money on this, because if we thought that we are trying to save money, it may even cause more spendings in the future if it is not done right. Myth number 6. I do not want to pass on money to my children, which may spoil them. Well, isn't it better if we allow them to be independent and find their own wealth? Then the next question is, Who else if you want to benefit to if it's not your children or your family members? If you think that by giving them the money too soon, you may spoil them, then it is even more dangerous if you don't let yourself plan out a will soon. If you think that the children will only be mature enough by the age of 35 or 40s, then maybe you can mention this in the will by only allowing them to inherit the wealth, when they have attained this age. It is also a form of financial education to the next of kin. Myth number 7, I only need to write my will once and I'm done. Once we have a will written, if we need to review it every few years or whenever there's a major life changes, which includes getting married, filing for a divorce, we are having a new children, or there is a big changes in our financial portfolio. Even though if there is no major changes in our life, it is still strongly suggested for us to go through our will every now and then, so that we know that our will still meets up with our priority. Thank you so much for staying with me in this video, and don't hesitate to contact me if you need some advices on financial planning. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!